Welcome to Pirate Living Podcast. We're your hosts, Karan and Kristen. On this podcast, we are highlighting ordinary people living extraordinary lives. These are pirates who take small, bold actions daily to create social change. Pirate life is all about rebelling and breaking the rules for good. Creating lasting social change starts first by breaking our inner rules. After all, the hardest rules to break are your own. The pirates we highlight have dedicated themselves to creating good trouble.
Today, we are sitting down with Rae-Lynn Danielle. Rae-Lynn is an intuitive mentor, energy healer, and motivational speaker. She lives freely from her own heart and creates sacred space for others to find inner transformational healing. She guides women to rewild their spirit and follow their inner compass. And we are happy to be chatting today with Rae-Lynn and are looking forward to learning more about her pirate journey. So welcome.
Thank you for having me. It's been wonderful.
Thank you. So we want to hear about your journey that started you on what we like to call your pirate journey and led you to where you are today.
I believe that it's always really been a part of my journey. As far back as I can remember, I've always encouraged people to live from an authentic space and to just like really embody who they are. Even as a child, I always encouraged friends to like step outside the box and do things a little bit differently. But as society came down, I put on different masks and different layers, and that kind of disappeared. And for me, it was ignoring the little whispers to like wake up and do things a little differently. And my world exploded about 7 years ago now. And I was first on scene to a really tragic accident, and I spiraled down from there for about a year and a half into really deep victimhood, like just survival mode of trying to keep, I'm a mom of two, so I was trying to like keep myself sane, but not really doing any of the inner healing work. And I remember I was sitting in McDonald's and I just had like a mental breakdown, and I wasn't one to cry before that. And a friend of mine called, and we'd been friends for like 20 years. And she's like, I don't think I've ever heard you cry. And she gave me some advice in that moment that just like really hit differently, because I had been avoiding her. I hadn't really liked the way that she was guiding me as a friend. And I asked her, like, what are you doing? Like, I've been seeing a counselor for 2 years. I've been doing all these things, and nothing has really transformed the way I feel on the inside. And she's like, well, I've been working with a coach. And I just, from that moment, started saying yes to myself. I asked her for her name and her number, and I talked to her the next day. And within 2 weeks, I was working with her. And I noticed a huge difference in working with a counselor versus working with a coach. When I was in counseling, I felt like I was always just like stuck in the same circular motion. And as soon as I started working with a coach, and there was some more depth in the questions they asked, and there was some more like alternative healing was intertwined into this. So like I've stepped way outside my comfort zone. I have done everything from regression hypnosis to theta to Reiki to, oh my gosh, sound bathing and different styles of healing when it comes to breath work. And through my journey of working with my own coach, I then expanded into mentorships, and I've just became so curious as to how we can feed our soul and heal different lineages and different generational traumas through our own inner work.
Yeah, well, I love that, everything that you said. So Kristen and I belong to a community called Unlifted Community. We are Unlifted coaches. So a lot of what you say really resonates with us and our learning and what we do as coaches, and helping people to kind of shed that victim mentality and to empower them to take their life back and to write their own stories. So I really love everything that you said, and I feel like you're just an honorary now member of the Unlifted community. So welcome.
I love that. I love that.
So tell me about the coaching that you had and that you do.
Most of my coaching actually began more as a healing journey. It wasn't like a step one is I need a coach. It was like I need some deep transformation, like right in this very moment. So my very first experience with coaching, I stepped into what I would say would be like a 10-week immersion with a healer and a transformational coach. And she threw everything on me, like taught me about the subconscious mind and taught me about ego and taught me about like making choices that are more supportive for us rather than like leave us in a victim mindset. And it went more into like the angelic realms of like more magic, which was always like something on my heart. So learning about white light and angels and spirit guides and all of these things. And then I committed to doing 6 days of deep regression hypnosis with her. And that was my probably most impactful transformation I've ever had. And you have to be really ready for that though. Like you have to be in a space where you're like, know that this is something that's going to like transform your whole entire world. And since then, I have thrived when I'm holding space for other women. I love to work with women and moms specifically who are going through the transformation of refinding themselves after becoming a mom. I don't know if you're both moms or not, but like I find that most of the women that I work with are struggling to rediscover who they are after becoming a mom. And they think that they're often just a mom and just a wife and just a partner. And they kind of forget who they were before all of those labels and masks and everything came on. So a lot of the women that I work with now are women and moms who have just like allowed society to tell them who they're supposed to be.
That when I was going through my own journey, I'm not a mom, I teacher, so I had many young kids under me, but the being a wife and falling into that role, I realized like I had really taken on an identity there that I lost myself in, to like, this is what it looks like to be a good wife, and this is what it looks like to support my husband. And once I realized I had done that, and in my healing journey, a big part for me too with my coaching was I realized like stepping out of my, like finding myself and discovering myself was the biggest help to me. And so, yeah, working with women has been so important to me ever since I realized like we tend to lose ourselves to roles because we're taught very early on that's what you do. Like you grow up, you get married, you have kids, and that's who you are. So I like that you're working with moms to help them find themselves and discover themselves outside of the role.
Yeah, I find that it's not just women too. Like I can't say that, but I just prefer to work with women. But I find that like in relationship, we often lose ourselves. And that's not just intimate relationships. That's like as a mother, as friends, as a daughter, we lose ourselves into what we expect or what we're expected to be. And when we actually become who we're meant to be, that's when our relationships actually start to be more conscious and they become more full and whole. And so that's been something I've been deeply feeling the last 2 years, is like really how we're able to be who we are meant to be and how that will give others permission to discover who they are meant to be. And that's when we actually all feel more joy and love in our whole entire life.
So what is the social rebellion that you're starting with your work?
I read this question just before I got on here and I was like, oh gosh, there's a few that I would really love.
Yeah.
Yeah. Social. Well, the first one that I would have to say is that I've been going through transitions in my own relationship as a mother, as a partner, as a woman. And I've been attracting a lot of like single mother clients. And so through that, I've been realizing that the definition or the feel and energy that comes with being a single mother is something that I don't enjoy. The energy is very heavy. The connotations that come with women being a single mother and a co-parent have really like stung my heart pretty deep. And so recently I've been really working with a big group of women who are breaking that and shifting and recreating the definition of being a single mother, or even just a mother or a co-parent, depending on the term they want to use, and shifting it to a term more of empowerment rather than disempowerment, and allowing women to like stand in their power and know that they are amazing women and mothers, and they're able to be just as successful as a woman who has a partner or a woman who is single and doesn't have children, and allowing them to stand in that and create a life of wealth and abundance.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, clearing my throat. I had a cold this past week. Yeah, that I love that. So with the learning process and the transformation, were there any questions that came up that you noticed, or any that you have your clients ask that are potentially uncomfortable questions that can help push the boundaries and get them thinking outside of the box?
Yeah. Most of my clients, the women that I work with, the number one question that I'm asking them that they get really uncomfortable with is like, what brings you joy?
Mhm.
And it's super simple. Like, it's super simple of a question. And I struggled with it when I first began this journey of like, what actually brings me joy? Not, well, I like doing this with my kids, or I like doing this with my partner, but like, what brings me joy and fulfillment? And I find that in every client I have, that is still the biggest and hardest question that they have, because they're always wanting to include somebody else, or wanting to make sure that somebody else is happy and feeling comfortable within that. And once we dive through that and they actually realize like what brings them true joy, that's where we really are able to start to piece together other areas of their life where they need to start focusing on what brings them like true fulfillment. And I've started to shift away from using the word happiness and using the word joy, because I looked it up in the dictionary and happiness was very external. So it was everything outside of yourself. And when you look up the definition of joy, it's very much like everything inside yourself. So like, what brings you joy, like on an inner world, not external of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Yeah, those are great questions. Sorry, especially
Well,
for women. Like
Yeah.
I feel like we put our joy on the back burner for everybody else, whether you're a mother or not. That tends to be how we're raised, that we put everyone else's needs first before our own. So finding ways to find joy in your life is important, and I can imagine how challenging that is when you haven't done that in a long time.
Yeah. There's like lots of roadblocks, which actually brings me to what my second um, uproar and shaking women out of would be, is I really love to work with the woman who resonates with the strong woman archetype. So the woman that always needs to be on, like you were saying, the woman that always needs to put everybody else first and doesn't really show their emotions, is kind of disconnected from them because they feel like they're weak if they're showing and being in an emotional state. Maybe they've been told their whole life that they're too much, or they're too loud, or they're too sensitive, or they're too this and too that. And that has been like, those have, between working with like single women and mothers, and then this strong woman archetype, that has really been what's like engulfed my whole entire coaching practice right now.
Yeah. Do you find that strong woman archetype is really just more of a masculine energy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like super fearful of stepping into that feminine of just trusting and surrendering.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah. And like, obviously this is all stuff that I've lived, because those were definitely things that I've moved through myself.
Yeah.
Mm.
And so go ahead.
I was wondering, what are you doing to help women get more comfortable with their feminine energy?
Creating a space for women to actually feel their emotions has been probably just the most simple way to do it. So a space where they feel safe and they're heard and seen. And it's been a shift this last year where women would come and they would talk, and now they deeply show their emotions more. I'm having a lot more tears and a lot more heartfelt conversations with clients than I have in the past. And I like to intertwine breath work. So breath work's been one of the biggest things, is just allowing us to like move from our head to our heart and really connecting. I find that our logical mind, it'll find evidence of everything. And when we move into our heart space, that's when we're able to actually like really feel and release things from a more permanent place.
Yeah. What are some of the bold actions that you've taken to get you to where you are?
Oh. I say yes to a lot of uncomfortable things. So I invest. I always have a coach for myself. And those are becoming scarier and scarier the more you want to level up. So like saying yes to something that's a little bit more larger. Recently, it's been a little bit hard because I like to thrive off of in-person events, and that has been put on hold this last 2 years. So it's opened up a lot of opportunities for me where I've been able to connect with women, especially down in the States. So I've been working with a healer out of Raleigh, North Carolina. And I have through social media, I've just been able to really say yes to things that I wouldn't have been able to do before. Because I was a mom and I live in Canada, and there's like a bunch of things, but I was a part of a breathwork weekend event, and it was really wonderful. And saying yes to a few more challenges, like a friend of mine, and supporting women that I know in the community. It's been really wonderful to say yes to collaborating and coming together and putting our gifts together. So group coaching had always really scared me. I don't know why. I really loved one-on-one. And so I offered my first group coaching experience this past spring, and it was wildly amazing. There was transformations beyond transformations. And I realized that when we come together in a group, we all usually are very connected, and we transform through other people's experiences as well. And we get to heal on a very deep level. So I also stepped into my own energetic mentorship this past year. So I've been learning more into like deep cellular healing and Reiki, and just things that I would never have imagined myself incorporating into my own practice.
I'm curious, what did you do before you started all of this? What would you do before coaching?
Not anything close to this. I actually worked oil and gas.
Okay.
So very masculine, how we were talking. Like I was very much in my masculine, and through my own healing journey, I've noticed that I've shifted more into my feminine than I ever knew. And I was very much in a wounded masculine state, not an empowered masculine state when I was in my own career. So I worked oil and gas for probably 10, 15 years.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting. The last 15 years before I went full-time into coaching, I worked in an environmental contracting company that worked mainly with oil and gas. So I feel and
I find that a lot of the women in coaches that I like to collaborate with are very much the same. They come from a very masculine background.
Excellent.
Canadians bonding over here.
Yeah, no, I'm also just excited to have a fellow West Coast Canadian.
Yeah.
This is the closest Canadian to me that we've had on the podcast, isn't it?
Because Cara is 6 hours north of you.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
One I might actually meet one day.
I'm down. I actually come. Yeah, like I said, when the world's normal, I usually come down to Abbotsford probably once every 2 months at least.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
Just for those who don't know, we're currently experiencing some, catastrophic flooding in our area, which has literally cut me and Rae-Lynn off, even though we're only hours away. So we have no highways or rail. So good times happening in Western Canada right now.
Glad you're all still above water, though.
Above water, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe take a boat and go visit each other. Cool. Will you tell us some more about your coaching programs and Rewild?
Yeah. So I've been revamping it, actually, to be honest, this last probably 3 months. Rewild is a term that I love to, like, every woman should really, our whole conversation today has really been about it. Stepping from like that whole space where we feel we have to be a certain way, into connecting into our heart and finding what brings us joy, and being with the darker spaces within ourselves. So sitting with some of those uncomfortable emotions that come up, and then really making choices from an empowered state. And so I've kind of taken everything that has been part of my journey and put it into this. I'm still kind of playing with the time frame for the new year, but 9 weeks kind of seems great for me, and into a 9-week program where women can just feel supported, be seen and heard, and also like fill their toolbox with new ways to support themselves, and creating community. Because right now I personally am obviously like we're cut off, but like it's also creating like such a space for you to feel supported by others and make friends. And some of the friends that I've made in the last 3 years from being a part of group programs have been like life-changing. Even here in West Coast Canada, which was shocking because I didn't take very many courses from here, and I've met many of women from Canada through that. And then just allowing women to really embody their own inner magic. Like we are all powerful beings, and when we believe in ourselves and we have somebody like cheering us on in the corner in the background, it's just, I find that that's like when we are able to rise, and we all rise when we come together. So yeah, 9 weeks is kind of feeling right for me, and that'll be launching, I feel February. I was feeling January, and then I was like, oh gosh, Christmas is crazy. So February is like feeling right for me. And so that would be a 9-week program. And I offer free consultation calls for anyone who wants to jump in on that program, so that we can dive deeper and just make sure that that is the right fit for them. So those are about an hour long, and you can book that right on I'm an Instagram girl. So like everybody can find me on Instagram. It's at Rae-Lynn Danielle Wellness. And in my link there's a calendar link where you can book your own spot that works for you. And other than that, I opened up a few spaces in my one-on-one practice coming into January. I find that with everything that's going on in the world and catastrophic events in the West Coast, I've have a lot more people looking for one-on-one support than group support. So I've opened up a few more spaces for that within my program as well.
Very cool.
Yeah. And when this comes out, it'll be just a little bit before February too. So perfect timing.
Great.
Yeah.
There we go.
So reach out, go check out the program.
Yeah. And I would love to, connect. I can send you guys information about that when it's like all settled here at the beginning of January.
That'd be great.
So this podcast was almost named Running with Wolves, because of our love for the book, Women Who Run with Wolves. You're shaking your head, not that our the 3 YouTube subscribers can see. So I'm going to ask, have you read that book?
I have read parts of that book. I'll be very honest and transparent. Reading has never been like my number one forte. But it's funny, this last 6 months it's transformed. I've been reading a lot more, and that's in my pile actually. So. Excellent.
It is also available on audio, and the audio is different from the book, which is really interesting. They're different. So highly recommend both. And it was funny because I think we both, I know I had this, and I can't remember if it was Kristen that had this as well, or one of our other guests, but when I first got the book, just didn't resonate with me, and I didn't. And then there came a point in my life where I needed the book, and I read it again, and it became like my, Wild Woman Bible. So it's one of those things that shows up in your life at the time that you need it, or that you're ready for it, for sure.
I find that with a few books that I've recently read, they've come in right at the right time.
Was that you, Kristen, or is that one of our other guests?
Guessing it was someone else. I haven't read all the way through yet, but when I started, I was like the first chapter, I was like, I don't know if I understand this, but I was reading on my tablet, and I had a whole bunch of pages that I was like, is this actually even in the book? And there were typos. So I kept wondering if I even had a version that was correct. So that was going on in my head when I first read it. And then I got the paperback and read a little more, but I have not made it through all the way yet.
Well, it's
Have
both of your
you-
homework assignments.
Yeah, I will. Do you know if it's the author who reads the book on the
It
Audible?
is. Yeah, it is.
Oh.
I find that that's like something that is really intriguing for me.
Mm.
Totally off topic, but I listened to Green Lights by Matthew McConaughey,
Mhm.
and
Heard that's
hearing
really
him,
good.
yeah, it is. Like hearing him tell his own story was
Mm.
more powerful than reading the book. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. So I
Well,
always like to know if it's them who read.
Well,
their
and I
own
think
Audible.
that's why it's different than the paperback book. So basically, it's a collection of short stories, and then she goes into the explanation, right? And so the explanations are just completely different in the audio than in the
Oh.
book. So I feel like she's just like freewheeling it, like,
That
which is amazing.
which is
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that is so good. Oh,
Yeah.
that's on my list. I'll get it.
Yeah,
Okay.
now I need the audio.
Yeah. Yeah. The audio is really great as well. Because I was like, oh, should I buy this when I've already? And then I'm like, well, completely different. Well, worth spending the extra money.
Oh.
Cool. Well, you already told us where our listeners can go and find out more about you. Go check out your
Yeah.
Instagram. But how would you recommend our listeners go about starting their own pirate life and taking some bold actions?
Oh, it can be really scary. And I don't like to hide that. When you first begin your journey and you like, once you say yes, though, it's hard to stop. Like it's hard to go backwards once you start actually doing your own inner work. And my biggest, what would I say? I say to start simple, one step at a time. I never saw the power of having a coach until I invested in one. And there's doing the work on your own, and there's doing the work with support and love and unconditional guidance, and more having somebody facilitate space for you. And so there's two different ways you can do it. And I find the moments over the last 8 years where I have taken space from investing in my own coach have been harder for me to really move through my own darkness. But step one would just be a beginning, something simple that you can keep a promise to yourself. That's what I work with mostly when I first begin with clients is what's one simple promise that you can keep to yourself every single day so that you can cultivate that deeper trust within yourself.
Going to the finding joy too. What step would you recommend for people to go about learning to get in touch with their joy?
Well, I don't know very many women that don't like music or dancing, to be honest. And I would say find a song that like really brings like your heart, like wakes up your heart and makes your body want to move. And I would just listen to that song every single day. That's how most of my clients and me, like when I find out I'm in a darker place, or if I'm in like a place where I feel stagnant and I haven't moved my body, music and moving my body is definitely the easiest because everybody has access to it. YouTube is amazing. And but the other thing that I regularly find for women and clients is actually taking time in nature. So going and standing outside, whether you're in your yard and you're barefoot, or you can actually get out of the city and go stand by trees and breathe some deep breaths and just like ask yourself, what brings me joy? And I find that usually even just being in nature is something that will like really fill your heart.
Yeah, one of the things that we do is we get our clients to pick a theme song, or what we call a walkout song. So imagine you're walking out to like a boxing match, to picking a song, and then like you said, listen to that every day for a month, first thing in the morning, and see how that changes your outlook. That and going for walks. So I feel like we're very much aligned with the things that we do and things that you do. So it's lovely.
Yeah, a theme song. I used to think about it like that as well. I just haven't heard that in a while now.
Yeah, we started out calling it the walkout song. So what would your walkout song for your fight be? And then
I have so many. So many. It would depend on the day.
Yeah, it tends to change.
Yeah,
it's
definitely depend on the day.
Yeah. What's your current one? Do you have a current one, Kristen?
Current. Come back to me on that.
Mine right now is Jump by Van Halen. So that's my alarm. That's what I wake up to in the morning.
My oldest son is in love with this new artist, Marshmallow. And I have to say that his music is quite catchy. So anything by him, we put it on and the whole house is dancing. So
excellent.
yeah.
I want to say, like, if I'm thinking, the one that stands out right now currently is Macklemore's got a song called New Year. And even though there's somewhat of it is like, oh, we were crapped on, and like, but he's like, next year is going to be better than this. And instead of thinking it from the negative of like, this was a crappy year and it's going to be better next year, I like to add in even better and be like, next year's going to be even better than this. So I like listening to that one and putting my twist on it.
Yeah. And for those that are looking for a good theme song, we have a Spotify playlist. So on our Instagram, Pirate Living Podcast, you can go in there, and the link in the bio, there's a link to our Spotify playlist where us and different clients will add songs to inspire. So.
Yeah, it's called Pirate Radio. So Rae-Lynn, if you have a song and you want to add it to it's open, it's collaborative, so people can add their theme songs.
Oh, I like that. That's such a good idea.
Yeah. So we'd love to hear what yours is.
Yeah.
I will. I'll go at it.
Well, our last question, I laugh every time because I like to say it's our most important question.
Most important.
Do you know any pirate jokes?
Ooh, yeah, I do. Most of them are kid friendly, just so you know.
Perfect.
The one that my son tells is a pirate walks into a bar with paper towel on his head, and the bartender asks him, "What's on your head?" And the pirate goes, "Arg, I have a bounty on my head."
Perfect.
Yeah, that one would be the best.
Excellent. Well, thank you for supplying your own pirate joke. We love it when guests come armed. Wow, it's just magic right there.
I love it. Oh.
It's been so great talking with you, Rae-Lynn, and hopefully our listeners will go check you out and check out your upcoming program in February, and hopefully we will meet when the floods subside.
That would be amazing. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure.
And in February, when this comes out, I want to hear if you actually got to meet in person.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh my gosh, yes.
Just forgot how to end this. Just a second.
I don't know. I can't tell you.